All right, today's lesson is on parallel lines and perpendicular lines, and how do you determine if two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so just a recall from Algebra 1 that parallel lines have the same slope, and perpendicular lines have, if you have two perpendicular lines, their slopes will be opposite reciprocals. Best way to kind of describe that, if you're going to meet at remember if they're perpendicular and meeting at a 90-degree angle, if one is going upwards, having a positive slope, then the other one must go downwards and have a negative slope so that they meet at a 90-degree angle. So just keep in mind when you're doing this that if one's positive, the other one's negative. Also, if one is, let's say, 3/4, the other one is -4/3. So they're reciprocals, meaning that they are, if you want to call it reciprocals, are also fraction flipovers. Okay, so you can call it that if you want. Basically, you just turn over. Literally, if you have one slope and you want the other, you're just going to flip it over and change the sign. So if you have 3/4, then you change the sign and flip it over. Okay, 2, remember when you write it as a fraction, is really 2/1, so it's -1/2. -7/8 starts off as negative, so that means the other one's got to be positive, and you flip over. 1, if you flip it over, is just 1, and it's negative. Okay, 0, when you get something slope is 0, that one is going to be what's called undefined. Because remember, if you have a slope of 0, that means you have a horizontal line. And if you're going to be 90-degree angle, then the other line is going to be vertical line. And when you have a vertical line, we have a slope that's undefined, or I think people have also called it as no slope. Okay, as opposed to 0. Okay, so that's why this is the only exception when you would not write the negative reciprocal, the opposite reciprocal, because when this is 0. Okay, everything else is just flipped over, change the sign. Again, if this one flipped over, then like that, but you can leave it. It's -1. All right, so the rest of this worksheet is really trying to decide whether your slopes of your lines are either the same, so they're parallel, they're perpendicular, doing this idea, the negative flipovers of each other, and then if they don't meet either one of those requirements, then you write down neither. Okay, in for types of lines. So you put the slope here, the slope you get here, and then you tell me whether or not it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So I'm just going to do the first couple of problems because it gets kind of redundant after a while, but you'll get the idea. All right, so when you're doing slope of AB, that means you're doing it between A and B. So make a big fraction line. A to B, remember your what? Your y's are first. So you do 3 minus 6, 3 minus 6, and then -2 minus 2. Okay, so 3 minus 6 is -3. -2 minus 2 is -4. So the slope of this first one is 3/4. Now, again, if this is going to be a parallel line, CD is parallel to AB, this should come out to be 3/4. If it's perpendicular, it'll be -4/3. And if I get anything else other than those two, then I'm going to put down neither here. All right, so CD. Okay, so 0 minus 3, 0 minus 3, and then -1 minus 3. All right, so 0 minus 3 is -3. -1 over -1 minus 3 is -4. This is 3/4. Okay, so we get the same answer, therefore parallel is what I write here. Okay. All right, let's do the second problem. Okay, again, doing the same thing all the way down the paper. I'm going to do A to B. So again, order doesn't matter as long as you stay consistent. So if you go from this point to this point, then make sure you do the same thing with the x's. It's your choice whether if you want to go backwards. I hate going backwards because it messes with my mind. So I tend to always go from left to right. So if I'm doing 2 minus 4, I have to do 0 minus 5. Okay, 2 minus 4 is negative 2. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So 2/5 is the slope of my first one. All right, and then my second one, I'm going to do 8 minus 3, and then 1 minus 3. Okay, 8 minus 3 is 5. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So I put down here 5 over negative 2. This is positive, this is negative. This is the flip over of the other, so this would be considered perpendicular. Okay? All right, and so again, you would just keep doing this, and if you don't get, again, this example where both of them are the same, to write parallel, or these are opposite flip overs of each other, you get perpendicular. If you get anything else, then you do neither. And I don't want to extend this video any longer than that, so I think you'll get the gist of that.